What is good, my people? It's time for the first official stupid bowling opinions on this channel. So, before I go into this, my last stupid bowling opinions was me just ranting about USBC. There wasn't really much information in that video. It was just me talking trash about USBC, which I'm still going to be talking trash about USBC, but I actually want to create like actual information about bowling on my channel, and at my own expense. I'll say this before I even go into this. Okay, I'm not a bowling coach. I'm not anywhere near as established as a lot of these bowling channels are out there. I'm just some dude who's been averaging 200 plus since 2012, from 2012 until 2020, with a very limited draw of bowling balls. Former college bowler, and I win some megabucks tournaments here and there. I'm not a big pro yet. That's why this is stupid bowling opinions, because this is just one man's dumbass bowling opinion. Okay. I'm gonna be as I'm gonna say this as educated as possible, but I am by no means a bowling authority. No. I don't have coaching certification. I haven't won any PBA regionals or PBA national titles. I came close to cashing in my last PBA regional. I was about 80 pins away. Whatever. And yeah, so my goal, of course, is to transform this from stupid bowling opinions to highly educated bowling opinions that actually mean something. But until then, until I gain that kind of, until I become that established, these are going to be stupid bowling opinions. Sorry, I was checking a text from one of my bowling buddies. Funny as it may. So, I want to explore in this little presentation, and I do this for my own, for myself as well as my viewers. Okay, all right. Yeah. My buddy started working at this new restaurant and might check it out. We're actually going to a bowling tournament over the weekend, so. So, yeah, I'm doing this for myself as well as for my audience, because I need to explore certain things about my own game too, and about the stuff I see when I go out on the lanes. And so, two big portions of that are what a good shot actually means in this sport, and what the single pin spares that you leave actually mean. Okay. Except the 7 and 10 pins, those are getting their own video, because those are the most, of all the single pins that bowlers leave, the corners, the 7 and 10 pin, easily contain the most misconceptions. A lot of bowlers get salty when they leave corners, not knowing that it was an errant shot from their part, and they didn't execute nearly as good as they thought they did. So let's go into it. So there are three main components, and again, this is all from my own experience, okay? There are three main components to a good shot. Main components. There are others. These are the main three. Number one, did you hit your intended target? Did you hit what you want to look at? Whether it was down lane, whether it was your target at the arrows or dots, or God forbid down lane markers, or if you're real dumb, the pins. By the way, quick little pro tip about bowling, or not pro tip, but stupid bowling opinion. SBO tip. SBO, stupid bowling opinion. quick SBO tip about targeting. Never, ever, ever look at the pins. That's the worst thing you can do in the sport of bowling, is looking at the pins. Because can you really hit a target that's 60 feet away? No, you can't. Not with a bowling ball. You can do it with a baseball because a baseball is smaller. And there's a much wider the strike zone in baseball is way bigger than 1 inch of a board in bowling. Okay. Anyways, so that's in order of importance. So the biggest thing that judges a good shot is hitting your intended target. Were you accurate enough to hit your damn target? The second was the front-back motion of your ball what you wanted it to be? Front-back meaning where on the lane your ball moved, started to make its way from right to left, or from left to right if you're left-handed. But I'm going to assume that you're right-handed. We'll say what your side motion, your left to right motion, what you wanted. Did you want your ball to hook 10 boards? Did you only want it to hook 5? Did you want it to hook 15? That kind of stuff. And all of those work together to create optimal ball motion and angle to produce the power necessary to knock as many pins down as possible. Power in bowling is about ball speed, it is about angle, and it's about proper motion. So what a lot of bowlers will do, again going back to when let's say a bowler leaves a flat 10 where the 6 pin just lays in the channel and they get all salty about it. I kind of laugh when I see bowlers do that because I don't laugh just to be an asshole to them, but I kind of I'm kind of like, all right, buddy, you didn't make a good shot there. Why? Because the ball deflected and it hit the pin rack, deck of the pins, hit it flat. So you deserve that 10 pin. You should have had an 8 pin next to it, to be really honest with you. So yeah. And again, there are other components to this. There are dozens of other components. But again, I'm not a coach. I'm just some dude. But these are the main 3. Those are the main 3. Did you hit your target? Did your ball hook on the part of the lane that you wanted it to hook at? And did it move the amount of boards that you wanted to move? Okay. So from that, you can rate your shot. So for me, there's 4 ways that I rate my shot every time. And this is first ball. This isn't on spares. And I shoot straight at all my spares, a plastic ball. So, that's just, did I hit my damn target? I don't care about motion because it's a spare ball. So it's first ball. So if your shot was like excellent or almost perfect, because there's no such thing as like a perfect shot. Like, oh, I threw that ball perfect. No, you didn't. You're human. You ain't no machine, buddy. You threw it excellent. Okay, that's a little bit better than, or I threw it almost perfectly. So in an excellent shot, you hit your target to the board. Like, if you missed by like half a board, or you missed by like a quarter of a board, or a third of a board. Okay? Almost perfect. And your ball moved, whether it was front, back, or left, right, exactly the way you planned it. So let's say I'm on a house shot, and I feed my ball up the 10 board at the arrows, or at the dots, and I want my ball to hit the 5 board, and then I want it to move exactly 12 boards from that 5 board to hit the 17 boards to hit, and I want that to happen at the downlane markers and move into the deck at the 17 board, okay? And let's say that ball hit the deck flush and it struck. Well, that was an excellent shot because I did everything I wanted my body and my ball to do. So excellent shots are actually pretty rare. if you're an amateur bowler. At my own expense, I'll say this. On a house shot, actually no, whether it's a house or a sports shot, it's all shot making anyways. On a house shot, I'll have for every 10 frames, I'll have maybe 2 or 3 excellent shots a game. Okay? The majority, if you're a experienced bowler, the majority of your shots are going to be either decent or meh. Okay? So if you made a decent shot, that means you missed your target by 3 boards at the most. So from half a board to 3 boards. Okay? Actually, I should say 1 board at most at excellent, but whatever. So 1 to 3 boards you missed your target, and your ball kind of moved the way you wanted to. Maybe it rolled out and you left a flat 10. Maybe it moved, started up a little bit more aggressively towards the back, and you left it went high and you left a 4. Okay, that's another really good example of a decent shot. A lot of 4 pins are decent or meh shots. That kind of stuff. So that's a decent shot. And the majority of bowlers who are not professionals or actually making money at the sport, they throw it decent. Because we're human beings and we're not perfect. You know what I mean? So, one step down from decent are meh shots. So, during a typical game, most of my shots are going to be decent or meh. I'll have 1 to 2 really bad shots, 1 to 2 excellent shots, and the other 6 to 9, because you can get either 11. You can get as many as 12 first balls per game, depending on how much work you're doing in 10th frame. So you work the math on that. If you made a meh shot, it means you missed your target by 5 boards at most, and it also meant that your motion was not what you predicted. So let's say, again, I'm on a house shot, and let's say I put my ball up the 10 board, and then I missed my target. Let's say I pull it, and my target's at 10, and my ball jumps because has a lot of surface, and it jumps from the 10 board, and it hits the 19 board, and I go Brooklyn, and I get a Brooklyn strike. Well, that was a meh shot, okay? Because 1, I pulled my ball. 2, my ball jumped, so that's a meh shot. And then there's bad shots where if you miss your target by at least 5 boards. If you miss your target by at least 5 boards, but your ball moved the way you wanted it to, that makes no difference because you missed your damn target by a substantial amount, and that's a bad shot. That's why if a lot of bowlers, when they leave flat 10s, but they let's say they're on a house shot, and let's say they have a lot of rotation, so they're at the 18 board at the arrows, and they feed their ball all the way out to the 2 board, and it comes screaming back, and it hits super flat, and it or not super flat, but it hits it goes really high, and it sends shrapnel everywhere, but the head pin misses the 10 pin on the messenger. Did you really intend your ball to go all the way to the 2 board? Probably not. You were probably shooting for 7 or 8. The 7 or 8 board. So, that was a bad shot. Good result. Fantastic result. I'll leave single pins off of bad shots all damn day. But that still was a bad shot. So, making adjustments. Making adjustments in bowling can either get you in a world of trouble, or it can save you from that world of trouble. So, I personally never make adjustments off of bad shots or off of excellent shots. Never. if my shot was bad, if I missed my target by at least 5 boards, so if I'm, again, on a house shot and I put my ball up 10 and I accidentally feed it out to the 2 board instead of the 5 board, that would be a decent shot, actually. I'm sorry. Let's say it's later on in the league, in the set, and now I'm shooting the 15 board, right? And I'm getting my ball out to the 5 board. Well, let's say I get it out to the 2 board. That's a bad shot because, I missed by 10 boards because I wanted to go for this. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Shooting for the 8 board, and I go to the 2 board. That's a bad shot. So I'm not making an adjustment off that. No. Instead, I'm going to be like, okay, hit my damn target next time. Or if it's an excellent shot where I hit my target to the board and my ball did everything I wanted to do, and even if I left, like a shitty 9-pin, I'm not going to make an adjustment off that because I don't want to get into trouble. If I make that 1-0, that if I move my feet 1 board off of that, well, I might get myself in trouble. So, that's why I say, like, when a lot of bowlers say, oh, I threw the ball excellent. No, you didn't. You threw it decent, or you threw it meh. And the best times to make adjustments are off of meh shots. So, if you miss your target by like 3 or 4 boards and your ball skidded or jumped and you left the 3-6-10, now you need to make an adjustment because you made a meh shot, but leaving that 3-6-10 gave you just enough information to say, well, if my ball jumped on me, I need to get it to hold a little bit. So where's the hold? Let me feed it there and then see what happens. So that's how you adjust. The first thing you do is you rate your shot. Did I throw it excellent, decent, meh, or bad? Okay. And then you see how that excellent, decent, meh, or bad shot hits the pins. And then you adjust accordingly. Okay. So now let's go to single pin. So single pin spares, I remember in my freshman year of college, saying to my coach after I think it was my second or third qualifying session, I made all my single pins, and I said to my coach, I said, hey, you know what? I learned something today. I learned that single pins are the free throws of bowling. So, in basketball, if you have a free throw, that you should be making like almost all of those. You know what I mean? Like it's a free throw, and you have what? You have like so much time to shoot, like, and nothing's in play. Everyone's just standing there looking at you get the ball in the basket. That's a free throw. If you're shooting straight at your single pin spares, they're free throws because you can take everything out of play, and it's ball to pin, just like ball and basket in basketball. If you're new to the sport of bowling, and like if you're a noob and you have a lot of ego because you shot 670 last night at league, but then you shot 470, and you're all confused and upset, you'll get salty at single pin spares. You'll leave that 10 pin and you'll be like, oh, that should have carried. You'll leave a high 4, which is most often like a meh or decent shot, and you'll be like, man, that 4 pin's glued to the deck, or and most of my bowling buddies who are pretty new, who are at that noob level, they'll leave a 2 pin and they'll be like, man, my ball hit the pocket perfectly. No, dude, you left a 2 pin. You didn't even hit the damn pocket. So noobs get salty at single pin spares to their own detriment. Intermediates are indifferent to single pin spares, They'll be like, oh, I got lucky, that kind of stuff. If you're advanced at bowling, and I'm in between intermediate and advanced, I'd say, they use them as information. So I know that if I leave week 10, if my 6 pin just lays in the channel or goes around the 10 pin, that's also a week 10. A lot of bowlers don't know that. The 6 pin is supposed to hit into the 10 pin when you strike, in the ideal strike. If I leave that week 10, I say, oh, so I had too much. I didn't have enough down lane reaction. All my reaction was in the middle or in the beginning, and my ball ran out of energy when it hit the deck, when it hit the pin deck. So that means I need to do something about that. That kind of stuff. If you're a noob, you're gonna probably hook your ball at the single pin spare. I see that a lot in league. I see a lot of intermediates too. One of my buddies is a pretty intermediate bowler, and he's been really improving, but he hooks at all of them except the sixes and tens. He'll shoot straight at those. I used to do that. I did that in college before my coach said, yo, man, if you're going to do that, you can't bowl on the team. And I was like, oh, I guess I should shoot straight at all of them then. And then he says, that's right. And that 6 and 10 right-handed, flip it to 4 and 7 if you're left-handed. Why did the advanced bowlers who are like known around the world for making lots of money bowling shoot straight at all their spares? Because when you throw your plastic or polyester or even a urethane ball or even a very weak reactive ball at your spares, single pin ones especially, you'll take everything out of play. Everything will get taken out of play. And it just boils down to ball to pin. So let's talk about single pin conversion rates. So in college, the way they selected teams, whether you were first string, second string, or whether you were varsity, junior varsity, or second string, was that you bowled a whole bunch of games, usually 30 or 40, and they tracked all your stats. So, your strike percentage, your opens per game, and one of these, of course, is single pin conversion rates. And if you track even this one solitary stat, you'll improve no matter where you're at, whether you're a noob, intermediate, or advanced. So if you're a noob, you're probably covering, on a good day, 3/4 of your single pin spares. You'll look back at your stats if you have a stat app in your phone, and you'll be like, oh, I covered, I only missed 3 single pins this night at league. Only missed 1 per game. That's pretty damn good for me. If you're intermediate, you'll probably get a little bit. You'll be happy if you miss only 1 per 3 game set. But if you're at an advanced money making level in this sport, and you cover less than 92%. 92.5% of your single pins, that means you had a bad day. On a very bad. I'm in between intermediate and advanced. Most of the time, my single pin conversion rate is in the very low 90s, like 91, 92, 89, that kind of stuff. But sometimes it's like 95. There was one streak where I shot and covered like 30 single pins in a row. That was ridiculous. There was one college qualifying session where across all 32 games, I went 100 out of 108. So let's do the math on that. I'll use my phone. I'm not going to use my computer. Let's go 100 out of 108. I remember that. That was ridiculous. 100 out of 108. Yeah, 92.5. So, and that was the highest across the entire team. You know what I mean? So, and college bowlers, I would say, are in between intermediate and advanced. Most of them. Some of them are advanced. Some of them are noobs. So now let's go through every pin, not in real intimate detail, but just a little bit of breakdown of each pin. I wish I had diagrams for all this, like where the pin is on the deck and shit, but I don't. So it's all words. Sorry. That makes this video listenable. Okay. Again, this is right-handed bowlers, so just flip it all if you're left. So the two pin. The two pin is either a bad shot or it's a meh shot. Most of the time it's a meh shot. And for each of these pins I'm gonna like say what it could have been. Just to tell you that, you know, you should be happy about single pins because a lot of bowlers get salty at them. Like I said, a lot of new ones, a lot of these noob we'll say 190 average bowlers get pretty upset when they leave two pins or any single pin. They'll be like, "Oh, I should have carried that." So, no, bro. Like you're gonna see for the most of these, you're making decent or meh. And the two pin is a meh shot. At the very best, it's a meh shot because your two pin could have been a washout where you leave 1, 2, 4, 10 or 1, 2, 4, 6, 10. A bucket where it's a 2, 4, 5, 8, or a variation of the bucket, meaning 2, 4, 5, and the 8 comes out, or 2, 8, 10. I need to put 2, 8. Or it could have had an 8 pin behind it, sleeper. It could have been a 2, 8, 10. So you could have not gotten the 10 out if your shot was that light, or 2, 10, or and those variations 2, 4, 10, 2, 4, 8, 10, that kind of shit. At least 3/4 of the two pins that you leave are going to be lucky breaks off of the meh or bad shot that you just made. So if you like go in really light at the pocket, at the rack, sometimes what'll happen is that, especially if your ball rolls out, you'll just kind of shove everything to the left except the two pin, and that could have been 2, 8, 10 easily. Could have been 2, 10. That could have been 2, 4, 8, 10. That kind of stuff. 9 out of 10 times, if you leave a two pin, that means you missed your target wide. But if your ball was on line, if you did hit what you wanted to hit, and it started making its way pretty good, then you probably just had bad front to back motion. You probably had too much back motion, or too much front motion rather. So it means your ball hooked a lot early, or started rolling a lot earlier than you wanted it to, and that kind of stuff. So here's how to get out two pins. If you missed wide, which again is most of the time, you need to move right. So move your feet right, move your target right. I do a thing. If I leave it two pins, I go like, oh, okay, 2-2. So that means I'll move two boards with my feet and 2 boards with my eyes, and be a little bit more direct at my shot. This way I don't miss wide. This way, I'm not taking that chance again. So that's how to get out the 2 pin. And I'm not gonna like educate anyone on how to shoot all these spares yet. I'm actually gonna do some video commentary on how I shoot all my spares. So that'll come later. Okay. So if you leave a 3 pin, 3 pins are actually pretty rare. Most of the time, if you leave the 3 pin, you're gonna be leaving some shit next to it. So if you leave a 3 pin, you're actually way luckier than you could have been. And most of the time, if you leave a 3-pin, that means your shot was like pretty meh. That means you missed your target by a decent amount, and your ball just kind of came in like really high. You know, it was high. It was high as a kite. It was smoking 2 joints, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So that makes it the opposite of the 2-pin. If you leave a 3-pin, it means your ball came in high. You didn't go Brooklyn, but it went through the face. Oh, so yeah. So I guess any big 4 variation. Any big 4 variation. Big 4 is 4, 6, 7, 10. And any variation of those. So you also leave 3-pin if you had too much motion on the back of the lane. So let's say you threw a pearl ball and it just kind of like started getting into a roll really quickly and really late. So that means that ball jumped hard. And again, most of the time, if you leave a 3-pin, these 2 right here, 310 and 3610, your ball you could have easily left one of those instead of that solid 3-pin. And the majority of the time, your 3-pin is going to be like just a meh shot, just kind of meh, not awful, but definitely not good. And if you made a meh shot and left a 3-pin because you missed your target, then you should probably just stay where you're at and just make sure you hit what you're looking at. Make sure you're not missing by 4 boards. Miss by 2. And then maybe you'll get it out, because then maybe you won't go close to Brooklyn. Maybe you won't hit the nose. And if you had strong back motion, then you probably just need to reduce some of the back motion. Find a way to do that. Whether it is by throwing it just a little harder, or lofting it a little, or even just going to a different ball, with a little bit of surface, to calm down that back motion. Is how you get the 3 out. 4-pin. So the 4-pin means you hit the pocket. And it means you're close to that optimal, it means you're close to the optimal motion and stuff. It means you're close to this. You're close to that optimal ball motion and angle. Just means you missed a little bit. So that's what makes the 4-pin either a decent shot or a meh shot. 90% of the time, that 4-pin that you leave is going to be either a slightly high hit. If it's a decent shot, I need to put that. If decent, or really high. If meh. So if you threw it like meh, then you probably pulled it, or you missed, or you just missed a lot. Again, going to my house shot example. So if I'm feeding my ball up to from 10 to 10 to 5, that's usually that's my little house shot line. 10 to 5. And I try to carve a little bit outside of 5 so I can feed it maybe to 2 or 3, because I like doing that. I get way better angle that way, and I tend to carry a lot more 10 pins. 10 pins getting their own video, along with 7s. But let's say I pull it and I go 10 to 8. Oh shit. And then I leave that 4-pin. That's a meh shot. So that was really high. But if I only miss 1 to the left, like if I get my ball to the 10 board, from the 10 board to the 6 board, and I still leave that 4-pin, well, that was a little bit high. And at 90% of the time, that's what will happen. The other 10% of the time, it means your ball just came in way too light, and came in too light, and I see it a lot with bowlers who have a lot of rotation and a lot of ball speed, is that like they could have left a 2, but it didn't because they had just a lot of energy, a lot of power. So the power took out the 2, but it just all the shrapnel just didn't hit the 4 pin. Yeah. So yeah, so there's 2 kinds of 4 pins that you leave. You leave the decent 4, and you leave the meh 4. So if you do a decent 4, you generally hit your target. You were off by, a couple boards. It's fine. And your ball hooked the way you wanted it to. It hooked that little whatever it did. But maybe your front to back wasn't like what it needed to be. Maybe your ball moved a little early, or maybe it moved a little late. That kind of stuff. If it was a meh 4, you either missed your target a lot more than you wanted to, so if I'm aiming for the 5 board and I get the 10 board, well, I pulled the ball, and so the hold gave me the 4. Very lucky that I didn't leave the 9 pin next to it, or the 4-7-9 next to it. That kind of stuff. Or straight up, you're not in the right part of the lane, and you're feeding your ball to a part of the lane that just gives you a lot more back motion than you want, and your ball is just like just screaming to the rack way too late, and it's just creating a lot more angle than you want. So getting the 4 out really depends on how good your shot was. If your shot was good and it was decent, then you just stay where you are, and you gotta say to yourself, okay, I left that 4 because I went high, so that means my ball either hooked too early or too late, so I need to control that. Or, and this is risky business, especially if you don't have a lot of rotation like I do, you can open your shoulders a bit and be like, you know what, maybe if I create a little bit more angle, maybe my ball will get into that roll and get that 4 pin out just because of the pin action. You know what I mean? But then if you do that, you're going to run the risk of leaving 2 pins because you might go wide. So if you left a meh 4, then you just got to be like, okay, hit my target next shot and see what happens. And then if you leave the 4 again, or anything related to the 4, like a 9, then you got to make an adjustment off that. So it's like I said, if you're bowling at an advanced level or intermediate to advanced like me, like you use these single pins as information. You resist the temptation to get upset. Yeah, I'll be like a little bit pissy for a few seconds, and I'll be like, okay, wait, what does that mean? Oh, it means this. Okay, so let me do this next. The 5 pin. I have a little story about 5 pins. And I used to actually be pretty proud of leaving 5 pins a lot, which was dumb. A 5 pin is never a decent shot. It's either meh or it's bad. Okay? Because that ball that you left the 5 pin with, that could have been anything. That could have been 5-9 if you went Brooklyn. It could have been a 5-10 if your ball hit like really, really weak. It could have been a 5-7 because your ball hit really, really weak. This happened to me twice in a row at a no-tap tournament where I left 5-7-10 because my ball was just like rolling halfway down the lane and it just deflected everything. Or you can leave a bucket and its variations, because 5 pin means that you don't have a lot of power. Or if it was a bad shot and you missed and you left a 5-pin, it means you missed substantially and you went Brooklyn and you left the 5-pin. And I would do this all the time when I bowled in college, because when you go Brooklyn and you're bowling on a sports shot, not really on a house shot, but more on a sports shot. If you're on a sports shot and you go Brooklyn a lot, it means you're afraid of the break point. You're afraid to feed your ball out to that break point because you don't know if it's going to come back from that break point. And so what I would do is I would pull my ball almost every single shot, and I would leave 5-pin, 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 5-pin. And I would cover those 5 pins. And that's what caused me to go 100 out of 108 on single pins that one year. They were not all 5 pins, obviously, but I'd wager that probably 30 to 35 of them were 5 pins. Pretty bad. So, again, if you left a bad 5, which means you did not miss your target at all, you either missed substantially, and you went Brooklyn. Or, and this is the only exception to a bad shot, is that your ball was online enough for it to be a meh 5, but your front to back motion was just really, really bad. Like, that's what happens when you leave this shit 5, 7, 10, is because your front to back motion is not what it needs to be. Either your ball is moving way too much, way too soon, or your ball is not moving at all. You know, that kind of stuff. So, and if you leave a meh 5, it just means you have way too much right to left motion. Your ball hooked 15 boards when it really should have hooked like 7, you know, which will lead to not having a lot of power when you go into the rack. So the more your ball hooks, the more your ball's going to slow down. So a lot of bowlers, myself included, they want more rotation. Not really because they want their ball to hook like from coast to coast. It's because I want more power going into the rack, going into the deck. So that's what I want when I want more rotation. I don't want my ball to hook 15 boards. You never want your ball to hook 15 boards. You want it to hook probably about 5 to 8, I'd say, is like really good. 4 to 8. Your ball hooks about 4 or 8 boards, and you're good. Most of the time. That's how the real bowlers get work done. Because that means their ball ain't going to slow down. It'll still have momentum. So how to get the 5-pin out? Well, if you missed all the way and went Brooklyn, well, you got to hit your damn break point. Duh. If your front to back motion sucked, then let the ball do the work and do what you can and just get better back end motion. And not just use the front part of the lane with a ball that has a fuck ton of surface. You know what I mean? Or, and this is risky business, keep your ball with all that surface, but throw it hard and loft the bejesus out of it and see what happens. See if it'll get it out for you. Maybe not. You don't know until you try. If it was a meh 5, so if you didn't have enough power, then you want to rotate your ball a little bit more. But not so much to where you're spinning the shit out of the ball. Because if you spin it, and I used to spin it a lot, and I used to call myself a proud spin biscuit when it comes to my rotation. The reason why the spin biscuit release doesn't work and why it sucks is because it's not controllable. You're not getting predictable motion when you spin biscuit the ball. So there you go. Oh, okay. I thought I was so sick that I had C19, but apparently I don't. I got that tested today and it went negative. The 6-pin. This is another pin I would always leave because of being afraid of the break point. So when you leave 6 pins, that means your ball is as close to going Brooklyn without actually being Brooklyn. And leaving 6 pins is pretty risky business because it could have been any Big Four variation. Like when you leave 6 pins, you're literally getting extra pins out. Like almost every time. Or you'll leave a 6-10, you'll leave a 3-6-10, one of those two. Most 6 pins, they cross over because there's either too much left to right or you pull it. It's very similar to 5-pin, only that miss isn't nearly as pronounced. It's like I said, it's the closest thing to being a Brooklyn shot without actually being a Brooklyn. Again, like I said, most of the time if you leave a 6-pin, it means you're lucky and you probably should have split. Oh, this needs to say mesh shot at best. My bad. Yeah, if you leave a lot of 6 pins, you're not making good shots. You're making mesh shots. Not really bad. Like about I'd say like 90% of 6 pins are just mesh shots that you're getting real close to Brooklyn. And not actually getting Brooklyn. So, if you leave them a lot, it means you're afraid of going wide. It means you're afraid of the break point. So what I do to get the 6-pin out is I will move my eyes, my target, usually 1.5 to the right. This way I'll be like, okay, just feed your ball out there. Maybe I'll slow down a little bit if there's a lot of oil. I'll be like, okay, let me slow down and just feed that ball there. And sometimes I'll get that, but other times I'll go very light because I don't have the rotation I need, and I'll leave 5-pin. And then I'll work from there. Or 2-pin, that kind of stuff. And the second way to get it out, and this really only applies if the tracer, meaning the ball the place you want your ball to hook, is at the end of the track, like boards 12 to 15. What you can do there is you can ball up to something more aggressive, and let that ball do the work. But that only works if you can control that front to back motion, and you know what that aggressive ball is going to yield when it comes to the front to back motion. A lot of bowlers on long patterns, they'll make the mistake of throwing a super aggressive ball, for too long. You should probably start with aggressive on a long pattern, but you need the ball down at some point because you want that ball to start making its move like literally as soon as it gets off the pattern. But you need to control that back motion even more because you have 45, 48, 52 feet of oil. So that means if your ball has a lot of surface, it's just gonna burn up right out of the gate. But if your ball is too polished, it's just gonna slide like a spare ball. So that's when you need to make some adjustments there and see what you can do and control that front to back motion. Front to back motion gets more and more relevant the flatter and the longer an oil pattern is. House shots, it's more about right to left. It's about side to side, right to left. You can get away with hooking a bowling ball 15 or 12 boards on a house shot because it's not flat, so you have room for error. But on a sports shot, on a real short pattern like cheetah or viper, you don't want your ball to hook a lot because that ball will burn up hard and it's not going to leave anything good. You're not going to strike at all. So let's move on to the 8-pin. The 8-pin is, of the back row, I'd say that 8-pin has the most misconceptions. A lot of bowlers like to say stone 8. Oh, I love the stone 8. There's no such thing as a stone 8. And the thing is that an 8-pin easily could have been an 8-10. You could easily have a 10-pin next to that 8-pin that you left. Easily. Especially if you're focusing on left to right at the expense of front to back. This happens to, again, it's like I said with long patterns. This happens to me a lot with long oil patterns. I will tell myself, oh, I need my ball to move 1,000,000 boards. No, you don't. On a long pattern, your ball could move as little as 3 boards. And it'll strike like a mother. Versus what my usual thinking is, just because I get really anxious when it comes to long patterns. I'll say to myself, oh, my ball better hit really hard, and it better move a lot. No. And my ball will do that. And what will my ball do? It'll leave an 8-10. Why? Because it slowed down too much. And it didn't have the momentum that it needed to get either one of those pins out, either the 8 or the 10. And there's no such thing as a stone 8. Now, as in the mental game, where you need to either celebrate or laugh at everything you leave no matter what, yes. Then you could call every single pin a stone because it'll make you laugh. It's a good way of being, it's a good way of self-entertainment, or even if someone you're bowling with leaves like a 6-pin and they went really super high as a kite, and they almost went Brooklyn, and they leave that 6-pin and it should have been a big 4 variation, and just to kind of cheer them on and to kind of lift their spirits up, you go like, yo man, stone 6, dude, that 6 is glued to the damn deck today. It's a good mental exercise. It's a good mental game exercise to call every pin you leave, every single pin you leave, stone, because it brightens your mood a little bit. But if you want to get real technical, there's no such thing as a stone 8. An excellent shot that has that optimal. Let's go back to it. An excellent shot that does this, that works together to create optimal motion and angle to produce whatever power is necessary to knock to knock as many pins down as possible. Okay, so if you want to knock 10 pins down, is it better for your ball to touch 2 pins, or is it better for your ball to touch 5 pins? You tell me, viewers. If my ball hits the 1, 3, 5, 9, 5, 8, and 9, and my ball touches each of those 5 pins, what is the probability of that ball striking compared to a ball that hits just 1 and 3, or just 1, 3, and 5, and but it's coming in there really hard and really fast, and the head pin just hits everything else? Your ball needs to touch as many pins as possible in order to strike, no matter how much rotation you have, no matter how much ball speed you have, and that's why there's no such thing as a stone 8. Your ball must touch the perfect strike. Your ball touches the 1, 3, 5, 8, 5, 8, and 9. All 5 of those pins get touched in the perfect strike. So, if your ball goes past the 8 pin, Well, your ball didn't touch the 8 pin. It's not a stone 8. It's not an excellent shot. It's a decent shot. It's crossing over from decent to excellent. But it's not an excellent shot. An excellent shot, your ball will hit as many pins as it needs to hit. So 8 pins are either going to be high or flat. So if you're... I'm sorry. Wait, what? Huh. I made a mistake here. No, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah. So the 8 pin that you leave is either going to be high or it's going to be flat. Which means, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Too straight or flat. My bad. We'll go with straight 8. Straight or stone. Ball went too straight. There. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you could say stone 8. I guess it's better than saying straight 8, right? So if you leave that stone 8 or that straight 8, that means your ball went way too straight through the rack, and it didn't mix it up enough. Okay? And a lot of again, low rotation bowlers like myself, yeah, I'll hit the pocket really well, but that ball just didn't dig through enough. My ball touched 1, 3, 5, and 9. And it didn't hit the 8 pin. And when I leave that, I laugh. And I just say, my ball didn't do enough work. Excuse me. But what usually happens is you'll leave what they call a half 8, which means your ball burned up and there was very little back motion. Or too much in some cases, but usually not enough. Usually the ball burned up, and it burned up real fast, and it just kind of just rolled against the pocket, just rolled against the rack. So here's how to get that I'll just say stone 8, fuck it. Here's how I get the stone 8 out. You get the stone 8 out by controlling your left to right motion and making sure that you have a little bit, that your ball hooks a little bit more going into the pocket, going into the rack next time. A little, like 2 boards more. 2. All right? Not, oh, well, I got my ball out to the 3 board and it hooked all the way to the 17 board and it just kind of stayed there. No. Now maybe I need to get it even further out to the right. No. You want to get it out to the left more. So you want to maybe hook a little less doing that. Or more if it's the other way around. That kind of stuff. If you left a half 8, you need to control your front to back motion. In most cases, if you're leaving a half 8 where you get the 10 out real late, it means your ball has a lot more surface than you want it to. And you want to either put your ball in the lane, in a part of the lane that lets it hold a little bit more, or get a ball that has a lot more back motion. Like, let's say I throw a ball to surface and I leave that half 8 and it just gets a 10 out. An option that I have is to say, okay, I want to keep my feet the same place because it hit the pocket, and hit the pocket pretty good. It was a decent shot. Hit my target and everything. Just the motion wasn't there. The front to back motion wasn't there. and keep my eyes the same place, keep my target the same place, and get a ball that's less aggressive, that maybe it has some polish. This way, I'll get the hold I need from the polish. You could do it that way. Other ways too. The 9-pin, in my opinion, a 9-pin's usually a decent shot. Usually decent. And again, like 90% of the time. If you leave a 9-pin, it's a decent shot, and maybe just one thing was wrong. And a 9-pin, if you're really unlucky, can be a 4-9. You can leave a 4-pin next to it if it's just real high as a kite. Or you'll leave a 7-pin next to it. That might happen if you bowled on a bad rack. Or if you went, it's weird. Or if your ball just barely missed the 9 on its way into the rack. But yeah. And there's some instances where if you leave a 9-pin, you just made a mess shot. You just you missed, but there was a lot of missed room, so your ball took off a lot, and it just went into that. It went into those pins at a ridiculous angle, and you just left a 9. That happens definitely. Even on an excellent shot, even if you made it, even if you did everything right. There's definitely a possibility. Yeah, your ball could be a stone 9, because especially if that 9-pin you left kind of wobbles a little bit, that means it's stone 9, because your ball touched it, but your ball didn't knock it down. But it maybe hit the 8-pin too much. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Again, there's two main reasons why you leave 9-pins. One, you have way too much angle. And even if the hit wasn't high, because, again, for a ball to hook, it needs to slow down. But if you throw it hard, and you have all that angle, and the ball slows down like that, you could still leave that 9-pin because of all that angle. And even if you have a lot of ball speed. And again, another reason, kind of related to the first, just too much motion on the back. Your ball just flew at the end of the pattern and just went right by the 9-pin. Even with pearl asymmetrical balls, which I own, I own most of the bowling balls I own are asymmetric because I don't have the rotation to really make the best use of a symmetrical ball. I'll go into that difference probably. That'll be another stupid bowling opinion I have. That if you don't have a lot of rotation, you need at most one symmetrical ball, because you'll never need symmetrical bowling balls if you have a low rotation. If your rotation is under 350 RPM, you don't need symmetrical. You don't need a symmetrical bowling ball, unless your ball speed's really low. But yeah, if you have those kind of bowling balls that have a lot of back motion, you'll leave 9-pins if you put that ball into the friction too early. And there's 3 ways to get the 9-pin out. One, you can keep the exact same line and just, get a ball with some surface and hope that it doesn't drive too much through the pins. Hope that ball hits the 9-pin when it goes back into the pocket. And that's a risk. It's risky business, because your ball just might burn, and all of a sudden you've left, instead of a 9, now you've left an 8, and you just barely dropped the 10. Or you can aim for the hold with the same ball. And you can just be like, alright, let me move my break point left a little bit into the hold, or wherever the hold is, and throw the same ball, and see what happens. See if I hit the pocket better. See if I hit it, and see if it doesn't drive so much. But if you do that, that ball might slide. And the best way to get it out, whenever I leave a 9-pin, I do this. I say, okay, let me throw the ball a little harder or loft it a little bit. Not crazy. Not, oh, I left the 9-pin, I better loft the ball, the arrows. No. Or I better throw it 17 miles an hour instead of 15 miles an hour. No. Let's say, using my house shot example. I love going back to my house shot example. Let's say my target at the arrows is 10, and I'm at 5 at the break point, and so I want my ball to hook 12 boards into the 17 board to hit the pocket, and there it is. That's strike. And let's say that leaves a 9-pin, and let's say I threw that ball 14.5 miles an hour. That's my bread and butter ball speed. So that tells me that if I up my ball speed to maybe 15.25 miles an hour, 15.25, now my ball has a chance to get the 9 out because I'll give the ball more time to get through the 1, 3, 5, 8, and 9. So that's one way to do it. Or I could loft it a little bit. Be like, okay, well, let me get that ball out there a little bit. Let me delay some of the reaction. That kind of stuff. And there's definitely a lot of ways to do adjustments in bowling. And what I'll be doing is actually, as another stupid bowling opinion, I'll be reacting to a bowling channel that I follow about his, I think, 5 adjustments. And I'll be telling all of you which ones to make first and stuff like that. So what about the corners? I left the corners out. I left 7 and 10 out. Those are getting their own video. So here's the thing about corner pins. You can leave corners if you threw the ball excellent. You could leave corners if you threw the ball horrible. Yeah, you could do everything wrong on your shot and still leave a 7-pin. And still leave a 10-pin. And it could still look like you should have gotten the 10-pin out. Even if you missed your ball. Let's say, there's been times where, again, a little house shot example. Let's say, end of the day, so now I'm throwing my ball over the 15 board, and I want to go for the 8 board, right? And let's say it's sandpaper out there, okay? Straight up. Let's say it's sandpaper. Let's say it's like bowling on sandpaper out there. And I feed my ball to the gutter, the 1 board. It comes screaming back to the pocket, and I leave a weak 10. Is that a good shot? Feeding my ball to the 1 board when I really want to feed it out to the 7 board? No, I missed my target by 6 boards. And the ball hooked 16. The ball hooked 16 boards, and I still left a 10-pin. That's why there's so many misconceptions about it. Or 7-pin. 7-pin. Let's say I'm on a super long shot, super long pattern. I'm going up the 15 board, and I only just want to move, that 2 boards into the 17 board just to give that rack a little light kiss, and do everything right. Everything went as predicted, and I leave a shaker 7. Excellent shot, 7-pin. That's why they're getting their own video. They have the corner pins have the most misconceptions surrounding them. And honestly, whether you leave them or not, it literally varies from house to house, lane surface to lane surface, pin deck to pin deck. Your shot that gets to 10 out at the house that you bowl league at, you could bowl at a different house, throw the ball the exact same way, and the 10 pin and you leave week 10s. Why is that? Well, I'll tell you why that is. Because maybe that pin deck is made of something different than the pin deck that you bowled at league. So, you need to be aware of that. So, that's why they're getting their own video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, stay tuned for some more stupid bowling opinions. Or even stupid bowling advice that you probably shouldn't take. Yeah, if I was wrong about anything, definitely let me know. I'll be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll take a note of that and correct it next time I do this. This way, we can learn together. Because that's how you do it. Anyways, alright. I'm out of here. Well, I've been rambling for like an hour. Holy shit. But that's how it is. That's how it is with this stuff. I like that in-depth information that you won't get anywhere else with any other bowling channel. I'll tell you right now. Any other bowling channel go into every pin this deep? Nah, they don't. Unless you pay them. Fuck that. You don't need to pay that with me. I just give it to you. Paying me is optional. Anyway. Alright. Let me get out of here. Hope you enjoyed, and take care.